Hello, everyone. My name is Paola Godina Salas. I am a junior studying political science and economics. And sort of the idea that I wanted to bring up to you guys today is unanimous consent, but not just its procedure itself. I also wanted to talk about how it is key to Senate function, but unknown to the general public. You hear unanimous consent, and I know that today might, be the first instinct might be to think of it as a really riveting topic to spend your Wednesday afternoon speaking about, but I feel like there's a lot of merit when it comes to how it is not only used in the Senate, but also its greater implications in a really partisan Congress. So, perfect. Okay. Just to sort of get a lot of definitions out of the way, unanimous consent is an agreement on any question or matter before the Senate that sets aside a rule of procedure that expedites proceedings. So what this basically means is that a senator can come up and call for unanimous consent, and that means that everyone within the Senate agrees to continue this sort of action. Its uses vary, but many requests for unanimous consent are routine, but if any senator objects, the request is completely rejected. So kind of a zero-sum kind of game, if that makes sense. When I first learned about this, I got really confused. I thought it was a mind-blowing idea, but this is, to my surprise, a very routinely used procedure. It'll help pass through routine business. A quick differentiation that I want to make is unanimous consent and unanimous consent agreements. The agreements sort of set terms for a specific bill or measure, taking into account negotiations among senators. It is not uncommon for senators to sort of get together, at least within their party, and ensure that no one, at least within their party, is going to object to any sort of use of unanimous consent. Something I want to note here is that it is necessary for expediting routine business, makes things a lot quicker, and what I want to hint at today is that it's often overlooked. It does seem like a very sort of niche thing to talk about, but I think it has its merits, not only when it comes to the function in the Senate itself. From my understanding, I feel that unanimous consent, without it, not much would get done. I know the often sort of perspective when it comes to Congress in general is that not much is getting done, but I believe that this sort of expedites a lot of the processes that are happening here. And an example that I want to bring up is this senator speaking about SRES 277, which was basically a measure to recognize Diwali as a religious holiday.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the consideration of SRES 285, which was submitted earlier today.
The clerk will report.
SRES 285, authorizing the Committee on Rules and Administration to prepare a revised edition of the standing rules of the Senate as a Senate document.
Is there objection to proceeding to the measure? Without objection?
So that is a few things to note here. Routine business, something is getting passed. That is sort of how this looks like. Bit boring, but another thing I want to note here is that this can be used in a rather sort of fun manner. Unanimous consent can often be behind sort of news-breaking action that makes it to your feeds. So with this example I want to bring, unanimous consent can sometimes be strategically used to display incompetence of another party. What does that really mean? This means that a party can bring up a piece of legislation that they know that the other party, that aligns with the other party's values, but they know is not fulfilling exactly what they're trying to do, bringing it up, knowing that the other party will reject it, and then the other party rejecting, a piece of legislation that follows their beliefs. Big news. I want to bring up an example of Senator Ted Cruz priming. So before this clip, he was priming an audience and describing to them what unanimous consent was, and making the audience understand that when they were going to vote, that for this IVS piece of legislation, which was a reproductive acts legislation, that his Democratic colleagues would not vote for it, and that goes against something that they believe in. He used the idea that unanimous consent that the audience has a very little knowledge of unanimous consent. It was the first one to bring that up. So here's the clip.
Understand again, if you hear the words, "I object," Senate Democrats are saying, no, we will not protect IVF in federal law because we want to play politics.
So with this, you sort of might question, okay, what about this? I think this is a really incredible example of how sort of a really mundane procedure is being used in a very interesting time. This clip was taken from a Senate session over the summer, and it was about a really hot topic that is being seen in this current election, which is reproductive rights. So I think it's important for our general audience to not only have some sort of understanding of the Senate, but also see how their lack of, how the general public's lack of knowledge is sort of being used, especially during a time where voting is taking place. Thank you. Oh, any questions? And then these are my citations.